Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh.
The greatest scam in history.
Let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, Max. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole.
Welcome back to Bit by Bit. It's been a while. Apologies for anyone who's been waiting for a new show. I just didn't feel like it until Zelko reached out to me. I always enjoy having him on. I have a huge amount of respect for this guy and the whole RoninDojo team. And to be honest, this was more of a venting session than anything else. Talking about some of the bullshit in the space, and then also trying to focus in on what really matters. The projects that matter, the people that matter, and the communities that matter. And on reflection, there is a lot of bullshit out there, but there's also a lot to be hopeful for, and a lot of that is because of projects like RoninDojo. We talked about some of the updates and some of the products that RoninDojo are offering, and we also talked about the importance of the pleb miners and the Meshtadel group. It really is important that we build these groups out, that we build a circular economy, and that we start caring about our privacy, security, and how to step out of this fiat fuckery that we see surrounding us, whether that's our food, our money, or our communities. I always enjoy chatting to Zelko, and I hope you enjoy listening. Before we start, I just want to say a big thank you to my sponsors. Let's start with my newest sponsor, SX6 metal Bitcoin seed phrase backup plates. Quite a mouthful, but very simple. You stamp your seed into steel. And you do this in case you had a fire or a flood or anything else that could fuck up those 12 or 24 words. You do not want to lose these, you want to keep them safe, and stamping them into steel is the best way you can do this. Black Coffee is the man behind SX6, so I know these things are quality. I've held them in my hand, I have felt them, and they really are amazing. So if you're upgrading your setup or you still have your backup on paper, just do better. Go to sx6.store. You can use the code MAXBBB. That'll get you 10% off your order. And you can reach out and ask me if you have any questions. But these are great, and so is Black Coffee. Go and buy some. Next up is Foundation Devices. Foundation Devices are making my favourite hardware. Not only is it the most beautifully designed, but it is fully open source, and they've just dropped the price to $199. These things really are simple to use. Any fuckwit can secure their sats properly with one of these, and they have an amazing team. If you have any problem setting one of these up, you also have the option to have Bitcoin Q&A hold your hand through the process, but honestly you're not going to need that. This is a cypherpunk tool for fuckwits. Anyone can use it. Check them out at foundationdevices.com. You can use the shill code BIT. And yeah, if you have any questions at all, you can reach out and ask me. They are a sponsor because I chased them, because I think they are the best. If you haven't already got one of these, maybe it's time to upgrade your security. Go to foundationdevices.com. Last but not least, Fast Bitcoins. Fast Bitcoins are a KYC exchange, so I do tell everyone, if you can avoid it, avoid it. Go and buy in cash, go and mine go and buy off a friend, do it peer-to-peer, then you're not going to be in the system. But I know not everyone is going to listen to that advice. Or not all of you care. Some of you want to have some KYC sats. If that is the case, you really need to make sure that you go to the best people possible. You want to make sure they do everything that they can to keep your data safe and to keep you secure. Fast Bitcoins do not want to hold your sats, they push you to get your sats off exchange. Once you've done that, you can go and get a passport, you can go and get one of these plates from SX6, and then you are fully self-sovereign. If you are going to go and buy some Bitcoin and you're going to use an exchange, please go to fastbitcoins.com. I don't think I have a shill code, but you can just mention me and I'm sure they'll look after you. All right, on with the show. Here he is.
I'm here. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, you sound much better. You sounded like you were down a well.
Yeah, no, it was, I normally use like a USB mic thing at when I'm in the office if I had to do something, or I use my phone. But yeah, I have like an actual microphone now, so it's a little bit better. Hopefully, it's coming in clear enough. I don't know if my volume's loud enough compared to yours, but
do I sound really loud?
no, I'm just looking at the little voice things.
Oh yeah, that just lies. It's fine. I can do post production anyway. But anyway, I'm glad you made it safely with that drive making you rush. It's been a while. When did we last speak?
Whew. Oh man, I don't remember. I remember me and S2 talked with you. Oh,
that must have been a year or something like that. Because you guys gave away a Bakuto, didn't you, for our Pleb Minor month? And that must have been.
What it was.
Fuck, that must have been a year, because we've been doing our Pleb Minor monthly show for 7 months, and that didn't happen for, anyway, it's been too long. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm good, man. It's busy, but you know, it's always rewarding. So I'm super stoked. You know, only good things can come when you're working hard and doing all that kind of shit. So
yeah, well, it seems like, you know, you guys and a handful of others had just got your nose to the grindstone and doing things properly. I think, you know, when I was chatting to you the other day, I was like, I just fucking sometimes have enough of this space and like some of the, not drama, just like, it's funny because it's like virtue signaling.
Oh my God, yeah.
But not traditional virtue signaling like you'd have, like, I want to save the climate and all that shit. It's like virtue signaling within Bitcoin to sound like you care about Bitcoin, to become into the in-group when actually you don't give a fuck. And like sometimes I think, for fuck's sake. And then the only thing that gives me like a little bit of hope is I speak to you guys from RoninDojo. I speak to the Samourai guys. I speak to people like Black Coffee and Q&A and a few others. And I'm like, okay, no, it's fine. There is really a movement here. There is something happening. But it's, there's not many of us.
Yeah.
It's fucking dire on Twitter and the conference scene and all this sort of stuff. It's, I don't know. It's pissing me off a little bit.
No, I definitely, it'd be a fun thing to talk about for sure. I think there's a lot of that. The only, and I try to say it after every conference, but the only thing that like gets me into it and makes me want to go do it is meeting people. It's like meeting obviously people and like seeing the light bulb that they get it and whatever, but also seeing the people, like seeing that more and more people every single event feels like more and more people are coming to the privacy side and like coming to our booth in droves or going to the privacy talk in droves. And like, it's cool to see that. It's obnoxious to then go on Twitter and have people fake hand waving and saying, oh, this is private and that's private. It's like, no, it's fucking not. Like,
do you know what's so funny as well? Is it's like, it's so simple. I was doing like for a while, I was doing loads and loads of podcasts and I was like banging the content out because like I get the listener numbers up and I was like talking to a lot of people. And then I was like, it's pretty fucking simple. There's a couple of people who put out good guides. There is a couple of projects that really matter. and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You set yourself up, you run a Tanto, you use Foundation if you want to have a hardware wallet,
Mm-hmm.
use Samourai if you want to have a mobile wallet, you fucking stamp the stuff into steel, you have it mixing, and that's it. It's so simple. It's like this huge industry going on, and like all the people like having these discussions that don't really matter. And I don't know, like kind of it put me off a little bit where I was just like, I'm just sort of having conversations for the sake of having conversations. So then when we were chatting the other day, I was, because I haven't put a pod out for like weeks. I've got loads of personal shit going on. I've got loads of just stuff that was more important. I was like, I just can't be bothered. And then I was like, let's speak to Zelko. Let's have a reset. And I've seen you guys are moving. Like you're coming to Europe. You've got loads of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
So before we like slag the whole space off and just like be complete cunts, should we talk a little bit about what you've been doing since we last spoke?
Yeah. We've been, I don't know if reorganizing is the right way to say it, but yeah, like refocusing effort. And I've taken I was really focused in the back end for a while, and I've been able to jump back in and kind of spearhead a lot of the leadership and kind of help drive us forward, which has been a lot of fun because it's a lot for one person, you know? So I'm glad that even though I'm still part-time, I'm able to really like kind of get everyone together and keep the direction moving really strong. And, we've re-improved our like distribution system. So that's been really amazing. Like we finally have that up and running. Everything's going out of the EU now. There's pros and cons, of course, but it's made our day-to-day a lot better so we can focus in other areas. Development stuff has been awesome. I mean, it's even more stable. We switched to a Debian-based operating system. So, the support tickets that we get are near zero now. Very minimal stuff that is not even an actual issue, like compared to where we were and where I used to be. And that was like part of why I liked working the back end, because I was, I wanted to be super happy with it. I'm finally getting to that point. And then, I'm able to start planning, what like V3 is going to look like. And so we're starting to build that architecture up and start doing the framework and seeing how that's going to look. The UI is being amazing. I mean, I know you've had Pavel on. There's going to be a time here shortly where RoninDojo users will not need to use the Whirlpool GUI anymore. So you'll be able to do everything from your locally hosted web app.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yep.
That's one of the worst things of the stack. It is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrible that. I was speaking to Rabbit about it the other day, actually. I was like, why is this so shit? Like, why? Like, everything else is so slick. Like, Pavel's done such a lovely job, and all the UI is beautiful. And then I'm fucking around on this thing, which is constantly having errors and stopping and pissing around. So you're saying that can just not be used at all? Yep.
That's, we're really close. I've already been testing the initial step, which was being able to unlock it and start it. So it's pretty much just the pairing process now. And that's the biggest jump. And once we can have that, I think we're going to see some nice redesign going on to make it flow even better and make even more sense for users, make it more intuitive. But yeah, we're actually really close to that. And even swapping indexers. I mean, probably by the time that this is out, it should be there. So swapping indexers like from the UI is going to be right there. We have some other really cool ideas for onboarding new users, which we can talk about. But we have a lot of cool stuff planned, man. It's going to be really exciting. From now until October is going to be super awesome.
Yeah, swapping the indexes would be nice. I was doing it with my brain is completely fried, so you have to remind me the name. What's the super fast one that was made by the Bitcoin Cash or BSV or whoever it was that's being used?
Fulcrum. Yeah.
Fulcrum. That is fucking crazy fast.
It's even faster on local, which is something that will be out. Yeah, we're about to release that too. So you'll be able to connect to it locally. So, most people connect to the hardware wallet at home anyways. So we have that set up. So you'll be able to use your Fulcrum, connect it with your wallet and all that other stuff. So it'll go fast when you're using it. Like an XPub rescan inside Dojo is really fast, right? But sometimes it was fast, but obviously a lot faster than Electrum Rust server, but it wasn't as fast as it was like doing the Xpub rescan and the UI. So now that we have it exposed to the local host only, like it, or the local area network only, it's blazing fast. Like even like using Vispero, it's like I had, like a 10,000 address Xpub, and it was done in like 3 seconds. And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. That's what I felt. Look, because I was trying it before I'd had Fulcrum. I was trying it and it kept freezing. It was taking it would take like an hour and then it wouldn't work. And then it would take another hour and it wouldn't work. And then Rabbit was like, I'll just use this. And it was like, I blinked and it was done.
Yeah.
It was fucking incredible.
It's such a game changer, especially for people that like have deep wallets. Like you might not need it maybe like initially, like, hey, you just had a hardware wallet. Because we get a lot of people like that. I've started to realize like our target population is a lot larger than just privacy people. We get it's a really good like starting point for people because you don't have a ton of crap that you don't need. You're not like getting confused by what you should or shouldn't install, what you need or don't need. You just have it, right? So, those people, like, they might not, you start out, you had a Trezor or a Cold Card or, whatever. Hopefully you just have a passport and kind of done with it. But they have that, and then their Xpub's probably not that deep. So using Electrum Rust server is not that big of a deal. It's like once you start mixing that you really want you want to start making that consideration of swapping over. That was such a game changer. Like as a person that's always had this like struggle, it's been nice. Ever since I had that, I was like, I won't go back. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's so worth it.
It's incredible. And then you guys have been, I see you're doing the privacy phones, and it seems like you're expanding a little bit. Is the idea that someone can come to you guys and be like, look, I just want to fucking have a setup that works and keeps me private, and I can't be asked, because this is like where I sit is everyone like, Rabbit and Q&A and everyone just fucking laugh at me all the time, because if there's anything that can be broken, like literally anything, I will break it. I could probably sit and mess around and build these, and I have built them in the past, and then I've spent days trying to fix them and mess around. I'm like, my time's going to be better spent just going, I'll just buy something that works out the box and not go through all the headaches and all the problems, and then having all that stress and the worries, especially when you're new, because you're like, oh, fuck, this hasn't connected. Now have I lost sats? And people are like worrying about whether they're actually going to be secure. So if someone can come to you guys and be like, look, can you just make sure I'm looked after, and it's done, and they have that support, the value, because a lot of people in this industry have loads of money, or they've got good jobs, and they're like, why do I want to sit for 3 days fucking something up when this is not my area of expertise? And there's people who literally do this as their job. This is all you guys are doing. Yeah. Can't you just send it to me and it works? And it feels like you guys are pretty much there now.
Yes. And that's been like the whole goal, is that we knew, right, that we always knew that there were people that wanted it to be easy. There's always going to be the crowd that like wants to build it themselves and not trust anybody, and kind of be the hardcore, don't trust anyone, do it yourself. That's totally cool. We always want that option available to people. But for these other people, it's like, I want privacy. I get it. I understand. I'm sold. I just don't want to have to mess around for, 3 days. I want it to be that easy for everybody. I want it to be, hey, plug it in, which is where we're at now, thank God, where you can plug in your Ethernet, plug in your power cord, and then just go about your stuff. Once it's synced up, that's it. So that's always been the goal, because we knew that was how most people are. Most people don't want to have time for that. And that was the idea behind the Ronin Mobile, which was really a service. And you kind of got two sides to it that, Graphene speaks for itself as far as like being like the standard of private mobile operating systems. But having that, being able to buy it in Bitcoin, if that's what you want to do, buy it in Bitcoin, not linked to you, and it comes out of the box ready to go. And so what we have had to do recently, and there's things, we learn as a young company trying to figure stuff out, is things that work and things that don't, like logistically and all that. So that's been one of the harder ones, is the phones, until we can get a good plan, or maybe until the 7A price drops. We're still going to have them. We're going to do them at conferences. We got 2 more coming up, and then we're going to try to make a really good logistics plan so it makes sense. Because we brought them to Prague, and people ate it up because they can't get the phones for the price that we had it. But yeah, a lot of people come up and they're like, "Hey, I have a large stack. I want it to work, and I want everything. Like just give me everything." I think the demand and the need is there, and that's what we want to do. But the cool thing with graphene now is that they've made a lot of improvements where now you can reflash it like on their website. I did it the other day for the first time. I did it on a Pixel tablet actually, just to see, because I want to use it for conferences, and it was stupid easy. I remember the struggle of doing it myself, and
me too.
like through the command line, I was like, this is not fun. And I work in the command line, and this was just so easy. Plug it in and then follow the prompts. Like you just click, 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 and next thing you know, you're done. And so I think the biggest benefit is that people don't even have to do that. And then also that people can walk away with what they want, right? Like you show up and you see the full stack in front of you and you're like, okay, this is perfect. I can go home and use it exactly how I want. I don't have to think. There's a lot of people that are like that. That's generally how I am. Like I don't have a lot of free time to be thinking about how to set this up or best stuff. Like I trust a lot of people who, I have a lot of respect for, like that do all the due diligence for best apps to use, best, what are the most privacy focused apps that I can be using that are easiest to use and whatever. And, I just don't have time to do all the research. So I'm also one of those people. And that's why I like the products,
Yeah, and it's cool just to have it as an option, because like I remember 2-3 years ago setting up graphene and RoninDojo on a Raspberry Pi and a load of other Raspberry Pis and Lightning and shit, whatever, just fucking so much stuff. And honestly, like days at a time, I'd be sat there with a bottle of whiskey and sat for 2 days just trying to fucking put graphene on a phone, and it wouldn't work. And then I'd be trying to do it on Linux, and then that wouldn't work. And then I'd be reaching out to someone smarter than me so that I could do it on something else. And so I'll try. It was a fucking nightmare. And I was like, I don't work on my car, not because like I couldn't possibly work it out, but because I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to feel more comfortable that my brakes are definitely going to work if I take it to someone who does that all day, every day, rather than me just pissing around. It's the same with this. Like, you can do it yourself, but it is nice to have that option and just be like, oh, there's people who just know what they're doing and they can just do it properly. And it's cool. Full respect for people who want to sit and tinker.
Yeah, if you want to sit and tinker, and like some people, their time is more valuable than, not saying other people's time isn't valuable, but some people value that time that they could be doing something else way more valuable. For some people, that's kids. Some people, that's other work that brings in money for them. They understand the privacy, but they're like, I don't have time to do this. I have it. Like I want it. Let me make it happen. And like that, those are the people that we should want to focus on. Not focus on entirely, but like those are the people that get it. And I think that with like how the world is right now and has been improved itself to be, you see it even more. And that's why I'm like, as bad as, the whole COVID situation was, as bad as, all the lockdowns and all the things that are proceeding afterwards. And I'm sure it's going to be worse going into an election cycle. It's opened people's eyes, at least a little bit. Maybe not everybody, but some people got burned. Some people can see that other people got burned and have learned that they need to take this a little bit more serious. And that's what ultimately, like, what it takes sometimes is that people just need to learn a hard lesson. Plenty of kids. There are some kids that don't need to touch the stove because they're told it's hot and they get it. And then there's other kids that have to come up and we tell them not to, and they're like, okay. And then they touch it, you get burned. They're like, oh, shit. Yeah. Okay. I won't do that again. You're like, okay. Like that's the world, and that's okay. And that's like that's how I see Bitcoin. That's how I see privacy is not everyone's going to get it right away. Hyper Bitcoinization is a fun thing to like dream about. But the reality is we have no control over when people will appreciate sovereign money, right? Like hard sovereign money. You can't force that. Like we're not in a world where that works. that you think that it's going to happen this year or next year. And if you think that price action is going to be what does it, I think you're missing the fucking point, you know?
Completely.
It's like, you know, I see it similar to Tor. Actually, kind of black belt somebody at Prague, and I felt bad about it in the moment. They asked me the question that I didn't want to like answer because I could tell that, you know, that they were new. And to be fair, now we've been in communication still, which is awesome. But they asked me like, what do you think it's going to be like next year? Do you think the price is going to go up really high and, you know, whatever? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. And I don't really care.
Yeah.
I don't work on Bitcoin because I care about being rich. I don't work in privacy because I want to be wealthy. I do this because someone needs the tools, and one day someone will, like a lot of people will need the tools, or everyone will need the tools. And I want it to be there for them when they need it. I was like, and that's how I see Bitcoin. That's how I see this. And I told them that, I was like, honestly, like, I don't know what Bitcoin price, it could go flat, it could go down. I was like, but at the end of the day, the tool that is there, which is Bitcoin, that peer-to-peer digital cash that you can send anywhere around the world with no third parties, a pseudonymous, you know, form of money. And I was like, that's what this is supposed to be about, not about price action. I was like, I'm not the right person to ask, you know, give you this bullish case for hyper Bitcoinization and whatever. I was like, I'll give you my honest truth. I was like, maybe you never know. Bitcoin could end up being something like Tor, where some people use it for everything. But, you know, there's like censored people that absolutely need it, and they're in shithole countries. Maybe they're not shitholes in the terms of Donald Trump, but like they could just be countries that are run by horrible people. They need that privacy. They need that ability to communicate with the world. And that's where Tor comes in, right? Like that could honestly be the case, hopefully on a larger level, because financial exchanges is a little bit more than maybe necessarily internet services. But like that's what I see. I'm like, this is how I see it. And they were like, well, I never thought that I would get that answer. And I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be like that. I was like, you know, there's plenty of other people here who will tell you how Bitcoin's going to go to the moon and you should invest now so that you get rich. I was like, but that's not me. And they wrote back to me like a week or two later. They were like, yeah, we're on the fence about buying a Tonto, but we want to do our research and get back to it. And I was like, okay, no problem. Like, it's all good. Right. And then they got back to me and they were like, hey, we did our research and, you know, we want to, they lived in a different area that we're not used to shipping to. So we were trying to figure that piece out, but they said they want to buy Tonto. And I was like, that's awesome. I was like, what did it for you? And they were like, well, you guys have you're doing exactly what we want out of a node. And honestly, your pitch sold us. You're the only person that gave us that perspective. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
It sort of works counterintuitively, you know, like when people are running around telling everyone Bitcoin's going to be 10 million a coin and fucking, you know, just like charging around like all excited. That screams cult. It screams, I desperately want you to buy this thing. When you have the approach where you're like, look, mate, it's potentially going to allow you to have more freedom in life and other people, and it's the only thing that governments can't take from you, or it's very difficult for them to take from you, and just look at the trajectory. And I don't know where the price is going, but it'd be cool to own something, wouldn't it? You know, if you put it like that, they're like, and the right people are like, because we don't really need a million more hedge fund type people running around, trust fund babies, LARPing as freedom and privacy people. Like you just, it's not necessary for us to have them. What you really want is just like normal people to be coming into this space and being like, you know what? I'm really sick of getting fucked by everyone constantly. And do you know what? It'd be really nice to be able to, when I die, leave some money to my family and it not be fucking taken. Or if I'm in a really bad situation and my business gets taken from me and my house gets taken from me and the government fuck me like that I still have something that is mine. And I think there's loads of people who are like that. And what frustrates me is that it's sold as, oh, Bitcoin is freedom, Bitcoin is this and Bitcoin is that. And it's like on all the articles and all the podcasts and all the shows, it's like sold as that. But then they're like, sign up with my link and, you know, go and get your Bitcoin from Swan and fucking, whatever, go and use Ledger. It's like, you can't have it both ways. It's really frustrating because I think, I remember coming into Bitcoin and being like, oh, it's anonymous and it's this and it's that and da 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 da. And then I was like using Ledger's node and not understanding what I was doing. But I was told, okay, well, it's Freedom Tech and, you buy on Coinbase. And then I was like, oh, yeah, this is an amazing thing. And then it was only after a while where I was like, oh, hold on. No, it's only that if you specifically take these steps, if you use the specific tools that actually work and you ignore the 90% of tools that are actually bullshit and they're pushed on every podcast and by everyone who's an influencer to make money while they LARP to pretend that they actually care about freedom. And if I ignore all of that shit and I use these tools and I don't tell anyone and I buy no KYC or I mine and then I mix and then I care about my UTXO management and then it's really powerful. But that's hard. And I think it gets drowned out, that message gets drowned out by just, oh, you buy Bitcoin, right, well, you're a fucking anarchist and you're going to change the world. No.
I think all your points are spot on. It's really tough. I think for anybody to hit all of it at once, but the reality is that's why, of course, like how my team and the Samourai guys are. It's like you kind of see through the bullshit of like you're pamping your bags versus you actually care about this stuff. And then, then all these people have these great idea fairies that want to try to pitch this new idea, this new thing that is going to fix Bitcoin. And I'm like, Bitcoin's not broken. So I never really understood those comments and those like ideas because they just like throw random things or like, lightning, oh, we can do this and do that and fix these things. And I'm like, you're trying to build and I like the idea of trying to build and make better. Like that should never be like prevented. Pitch it as like this fixes everything. And I'm like, and then trying to discourage the tools that do work at the same time as your idea is so, like counterintuitive. And, there's obviously like the sections of Bitcoin have different, there's a lot of tribalism, but I think that ultimately, sometimes that's actually good. Sometimes that actually helps each other get better and steel sharpens steel type idea, but it can be super disingenuous. I think a lot of people talk out of their ass because they need to appease the people that pay them. And I think that's probably the hardest part for podcasters is this idea that most of them have to appease to someone. And that's what I like about you is like when you're, last year during the Bleed Miner, you're like, I'm my sponsor, so I say whatever the fuck I want. And I tell you not to fucking buy KYC and do this and do that. And I was like, that's awesome. Like those are the type of sponsors that should exist. But it's kind of shitty because it's the rest of the people that don't get enough of like the basics. It's enough people that are like, oh, I recorded that once, so I don't need to do it again. And it's like, no, these people need to understand why nodes are important. Why is UTXO management important? And it's like, well, you did that podcast 4 years ago, but you're not linking it. No one's like going back to listen to it. And you as not you, but like talking to another podcaster, it's like, well, the only way for you to make more money is to generate content. You should be like bringing on someone new, get a new perspective on that same basic thing, because most people still don't get that stuff. They still don't understand the basics. If they did, I wouldn't have loads of people showing up to learn about, nodes and privacy and collaborative transactions and all these different things, so it's tough. I do think that we need more of those people who are just like independent, don't give a shit. They do it out of straight passion, and, finding a way to monetize is the key to everything. You can get out of the VC thumb, you can get out of this other stuff, and it's not easy, especially not for podcasting. I don't think that's an easy thing, but like, I look at a lot of software guys like, dude, just like stop fucking bending over backwards to get, to rub shoulders with the right people and to get these grants by these people and whatever. And it's like, dude, just fucking figure it out for yourself. Like learn to run a business, learn to run to get this stuff done, because then you have no overlords. Then you can actually be about freedom money because you are operating freely.
That's a good point. You have to be free yourself to be able to talk freely. And to be honest, like that's the thing with this podcast is like I have to work 2 fiat jobs and work like an absolute cunt just to survive so that I can do the show. But it's like, I can go and take sponsors on that I don't believe in, but then what's the point? Because you can go and earn more money in fiat land anyway. So it's that careful balance of like keeping it surviving, but at the same time not selling out. And it's like, it's a very, very difficult, I can see the draw. Like, you know, there's lots of sponsors I could take on with this show and I'd make 5-10 times more than I make, and I wouldn't have to work the 2 fiat jobs and I wouldn't be fucking exhausted. But at the same time, I'd be like, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd look at myself and I'd be like, you're a cunt.
Absolutely.
Like, what is the point in what you're doing? You're a fucking loser. And that's just honestly like how I look at 95% of the community now is like, you're just a fucking loser. You're just riding on the coattails to make some money.
Really good.
If you're going to do that, you might as well go into banking or go in some fiat land work and just go and earn the money there, because you're not representing. There's always this kind of like, oh, I didn't know I was supporting Wasabi because they reached out to me and wanted to pay me. Oh, I didn't know that there's all these issues, and I didn't know that they're selling surveillance software. And I'm just reading the advert. You know, it says that, you know, it helps you with your privacy and it's so good and it integrates with fucking Trezor and blah 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 and it's going to be amazing. It's like, listen, you cunt, you're not that stupid.
If you are, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, they're not that stupid. You know what you're doing. And the same with all the exchanges and stuff. I'm really lucky that, I mean, I wouldn't be able to run this show if Fast Bitcoins didn't pay me to literally shit on them every single episode. So like a big shout out to Danny Brewster for doing that. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be able to do it otherwise. And it's a sad situation. And that's the one reason that I like some of the Lightning stuff that's going on is it's the only other way that I've found to keep this thing running is that people send me sats and messages and like, yeah, Lightning has its problems. I get it, like totally get it. I know there's this whole, I don't know, there seems to be some tribalism between like a lot of the privacy guys and the Lightning stuff. But my position on it is like every single month I put out shows, people send me messages and they send me sats, and it genuinely helps to keep this thing going. And I'm like, well, that is a use case because no one does it on chain. Actually, not no one. I get a couple of people who send to my Paynim, to be fair. Yeah. But nowhere near the same amounts. Like, it's not even close. And so I'm like, well, that is kind of a use case. Like, it's not perfect. And I have some problems with Fountain and sometimes I can't log in and blah, blah, blah. And it's custodial. I get it. But it's not like life-changing money. If I get rugged by them, I'm like, okay, I'm still going to pay my rent. Like it's not the end of the world. So I like that part of Lightning, but other than that, I don't really use it.
And it's funny, because I know exactly what you're talking about with like privacy guys versus that, and I don't think it's ever been. Well, most people don't really care about our true opinion on it, but I can't talk for everybody. My position's always been that like, Lightning has use case things for different things that may appease to some people. And like, I think I've always recognized, at least at the podcast one, where you can stream and be earning stats, like that's a solid use case. Like that's something good, right? But like the only reason it started to get really aggressive is when people, you know, try to say, it's these like crowds on Twitter that try to come out and say like, oh, well, why would you use on-chain and like get privacy that way? You could have privacy on Lightning. It's like, well,
yeah, that's dumb.
Don't kid yourself. And the best Lightning stuff or easiest to use or whatever is generally custodial Lightning wallets. And, you know, so like, that's fine. And at least like acknowledge like what it is, you know, like acknowledge that like there's improvements that need to be made or whatever. Is it the perfect layer 2? Absolutely not. I mean, is it like does it keep all of the same like ethos of Bitcoin? It can, like in theory of like non-custodial and whatever, and trying to go peer-to-peer and whatever. It can.
It's really
people
hard.
need arguments. It's a lot harder. And then you're paying the same amount anyways. You might as well just do on-chain. So it's like one of those, like, I think that it's the false, kind of going back into the people that are just shilling just to shill.
Yeah.
and they're just not being genuine about the trade-offs. And if they like claim to, right, because they see something on Twitter, they claim, I recognize the trade-off or whatever. I was like, yeah, but you didn't recognize it in the 16 other tweets that got 2,000, engagement or 10,000 engagement on it. You didn't say anything then, on your little side replies. So you might have said it, but no one saw it. Like, who cares, right? Like, it's like kind of that standpoint where it doesn't feel genuine that people are like doing it, and then they try to dunk on using on chain. It's like, well, I just see that as kind of silly. But I do see, like, I think that especially the podcast stuff where you can be earning stuff and people feel more comfortable sending, even if it's small amounts, feel more comfortable doing that. Like, yeah, like why not? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a better solution for you. So like, who am I to sit there and say like, oh, it's trash, you still shouldn't use it. Like, it is what it is, like, I don't necessarily have anything with it. I just don't like being dictated when people say like, oh, if you don't have Lightning support, you're going to die. Or if you don't have, like for wallets, if you don't have Lightning, you're going to die. And I'm like, that's just
stupid.
Not the case. It's really dumb. You're making yourself look stupid, and they just keep doubling down. But I do give shout outs to those kind of going back, like the podcasters that like one person that I did kind of like, at least we had a really good conversation. I don't think anyone's perfect in the space at all. Other than you, you're perfect. But that's because you work 2 jobs. You're like me. I feel you, man. 2 jobs plus this, right? So I got to talk to BTC sessions at Prague, and I was really, it was cool because we had talked before, and when he told me, like when we had talked about the whole wasabi censorship blacklist thing and whatever, and it was cool to see someone who was like, yeah, that's fucked up. Like, I don't know if that's a public stance, so he can. I don't want to speak for someone, but him dropping them as a sponsor after is a big move. And I respect that a lot. And, everything that he was doing for and then we had a long conversation about this, but talking about the truck drivers and the whole Canadian situation, like that was and kind of what I told him. It sucks. It's kind of awkward because like, I know he played a big part in it, but I told him how, like, what a missed opportunity, like we talk about onboarding and wanting people to be about Bitcoin. I'm like, man, out of all the people who would truly get it and like, live in a country where they could do it, like it's not like it's one thing that people in like corrupt country need the freedom money, but it's, the loopholes to get through it without being found out is more difficult. The Canadians are in that situation, but they like literally could have had that. They could have been onboarded the right way, learned right then and there why this is perfect. And I know that he also like recognized that too. But like it's like, oh, we got a multi-sig and then they gotta do this thing and that thing. I'm like, dude, they don't care. Like, they're truck drivers. And it's not anything bad about that. There's nothing wrong with being a truck driver at all. I was like, but they're not Bitcoin. Like, they're not tech guys. They're not, maybe some of them are, I don't know, but probably not, right? Like, they're probably just normal people who've either never heard about Bitcoin or don't care about it. They care about feeding their family. So do that. And do that using Bitcoin, right? Use gift cards, use whatever, figure it out. But like, just get them that shit first and tell them like, hey, this is from, Bitcoiners all around the world are supporting your cause. We want to give you this stuff. Scan the QR code and you'll get to kind of read about the story, how that happened and what Bitcoin is. And leave it at that. If they take it, they take it. If they don't, they don't. But like, I guarantee you, a normal person who had their bank accounts closed, who had no way to feed their family, were standing up for something they believed in, and they're getting, a way to survive from strangers on the internet, they're going to take a look at it. I mean, I put myself in that situation, like trying to remove myself. And I was like, at least I would do that. Might not be that second, because like, need to eat or whatever. But like, at least you're going to look at it and be like, okay, so hold on, what is this? I don't need a bank. I can figure out how to do this without it. And, like, that's big. It's massive. And then they can learn how to convert without having to go into a bank or an exchange, and they could buy gift cards or whatever. Like, dude, that's where it is. Just do it right there. You guys had it. Yeah. So I know he's trying to work on it.
Well, that's the huge thing, is like trying to do that circular stuff is like the big reason that I got involved with John and doing all of the mining stuff, even though I can't mine in the UK because our electricity costs are just fucking absurd. I mean, it's just like, you can't. You can do all the maths you want and try and plan a million things out, but basically there's no chance. But the reason I got involved with him and doing the Pleb Miner Monthly and also the Meshtadel, so I was like, who gets it? Like, who matters, like, through all the noise? And I was like, right, the miners matter because they're getting no KYC sats if they do it right. And like Econo Alchemist and a lot of the other guys who were talking about it at the time, like really like switched me onto that. And I was like, okay, this is cool. Like someone can do this the right way. They can get their sats. Now they need to pay their electricity bills. So they need some fiat. What are they going to do? Okay, they need to sell some of that. And I was seeing this like mix between the privacy groups and the mining groups. And then mixed into that was this Meshtadel idea, which is like everyone who's doing like their own farming and they have chickens or they're growing produce and they're building stuff. And the key here really is like, how do you get Bitcoiners to be able to exchange their sats for either produce or fiat where they want through this network of people who actually care about Bitcoin and completely cut out all of the banks and all of the services and all of the bullshit, so that even if they have a fiat job and they pay their mortgage or their rent and they do all the stuff like above board, they have this sort of second life where they're like, I have cash, and this is their digital cash where they can sort of live as people used to 50 years ago. What's so funny is like most of the people who are in our pleb mining groups are engineers or builders and plumbers and drivers and whatever else it is. Like they're more the blue collar people, and the blue collar people get it because A, they understand that government isn't there to fucking help you. They're not on the furlough schemes. They're not being looked after. They're the ones who actually can think logically. And they're also the people who are building. And so it's quite cool to see you've got the sort of the think boy, philosopher, Bitcoin shit going on one side. And then you've got real people with real skills and real problems on the other side who are like, right, we're going to build some stuff that works, and they're working together. So I kind of see it that maybe there's that split off, and I don't know, it's almost like it goes two ways. You just have people who are mining, they've got the privacy skills, and that is the new cash. And so when you have this, you know, next time you have this kind of issues like you had in Canada with all the truck drivers, maybe the approach is different. Maybe it's like, okay, let's add you into this group. You can see what we're doing. We're mining and we're using the heat to grow produce, and we're doing this and we're doing that, and blah, blah, blah. That's what I'd like people to see when they see Bitcoin, rather than someone go, oh, I used to work at a hedge fund, and let me tell you, this thing's going to be worth $1 billion. It's like, oh, fuck off. Like, that's not what they want to hear. They just want to hear it's safe, it's secure, you can send it, no one can take it. Done.
Yeah, and I can use it. You know, like if you're going to tell someone it's digital cash, you better figure out a way to expand that ecosystem, which kind of goes into one of the ideas. One of the things that we're trying to expand into in the next year is there was a meetup that I joined recently because I wanted to find something before I end up moving in the area, and they're talking about building out a like an ecosystem, like their own ecosystem, their own like people whose skill sets have a thing, and they can offer their skills, trades and skills for Bitcoin. I'm like, that's fucking great. Like someone who like fixes roofs, I'm like, oh, cool. At least now I have a directory of people that I can refer to, right? If I'm like, hey, like my roof's jacked up, who can I call? Oh, this dude, he accepts Bitcoin. Perfect, right? Like, I think I think more communities doing that is amazing. And then, we're trying to help these local meetups, people that are getting together to like support themselves and kind of have their own stream of revenue besides just like meeting up together for whatever it is that they want to use their money for. But I'm trying to build like a meetup partnership program so that, I can do something like get it to them, get them tantos that, we'll front them or whatever. And then we'll sell to them like wholesale, right? So they just get us back the money later on when they sell them, right? So like, and then they keep their money, whatever they sell it for, they just get us back the wholesale price, and that's it. And that way they can at least be generating something. You can be promoting privacy, you can be promoting sovereignty, you can be promoting running a node, like all these things, and you're able to help keep yourself up, right? Because that's ultimately what it kind of comes down to, is that, a lot of meetups, more people go to meetups than they do conferences, right? So conferences are great for, for what they are, but like I'd love to see more people like these meetups expanding and becoming more, versatile, more people building out like, hey, like I have chickens and eggs and whatever, I'll sell eggs for this many sats, whatever, like,
Yeah.
and it sounds silly, but like these small things, like this is how it starts. Like it starts like this, and then it moves into like trying to continuously grow the thing. But if you're going to sit back and hope and pray that Amazon is the answer, or those politicians are the answers, you're just fucking crazy. Like I think there was something recently with what's his name, Robert Kennedy, the Democratic politician, who said he wants to get rid of the capital gains tax on Bitcoin or whatever. And I'm sure, I haven't even looked, I didn't want to look at like I'm assuming just praising and like holding this guy up as a god among people.
He's a politician.
Yeah. But I can almost guarantee if I go on Twitter to look for it, I'm going to see all these people talk about how amazing he is and how he's got their vote and like all this shit. I'm like, dude, who gives it? Who cares? They're going to do what everybody does, which is just say what people want to hear. Like, he's not dumb. Like, he's ran on two things that the people really wanted to hear, which is like COVID's bad, like the vaccine was bad, and like this is like another small one that like two things for Bitcoiners, I guess I'll say. Like the Bitcoin news and then this and the vaccine stuff. And I'm like, he's sold 90% of the people if they just blindly followed right there. He's not dumb. Like, that doesn't mean shit. Show me what you're gonna do. Like, actually do it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think the space is going to be continuously interesting, but I really hope that we can grow those ecosystems and really help meetups help themselves and all that. So it's a cool plan that we have.
I'm going to add you into the Pleb Miner Monthly group if I haven't already, and the Mesh group. It's not massive, but it's like a few hundred really fucking solid Bitcoiners. They've got farms or they're engineers, they're building full heating systems with miners, they're doing all sorts of crazy shit. They're really fucking cool. They actually do things properly, like they care about privacy, they care about trying to build the circular economy, and a lot of them are starting meetups and doing that kind of stuff. So they're the types of groups of people where I just want to speak to them rather than just hear the same old bullshit on Twitter. I'm so close to just fucking pulling the plug on it. And then the other thing is like, I'm like, if I pull the plug on it, do I go to Nostr? And then I'm like, I don't understand it fully enough. It seems kind of cool, but then there's all this hype around it, which tells me from experience that maybe it's going to be a fucking nightmare. So,
I mean, it's like an ecosystem within an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So all the same people that you'd be trying to get away from Twitter are all on Nostr. And I mean, yeah, that is what it is. I haven't played around enough on it to be able to talk about it with any full extent. That's just my observation of like all the people who I expected would be in Nostr is in Nostr. But I think, yeah, I like hearing about the Plate Miner group and the Mesh group. I think that's super, super awesome. And I think they're going to continue to like what we're building. We got some cool stuff on our roadmap. It's going to only enhance overall sovereignty, and I'm super hyped for it. Like, it's gonna something that I know that no one else is going to do, and it's not about running sovereign apps on your financial network. Like, it's it's stuff that can really make a difference in people's lives. But I also I want to join it too, because one question I always get at like meetups or conferences is like, I want to buy like no KYC, like how can I buy it or whatever. And
miners.
I'm like, I want to send them to miners. I just don't have this like pocket directory of miners. I can be like, yeah, join this group. They'll help you out. So having something like that, like I get it a lot. Like, that's because they're like, okay, run this and then buy no KYC. Where do I do that? And I'm like, well, you can use BISC, you can use this, whatever. And then, I'm like, but miners, if you're going to buy consistently, the best thing is having like a miner hookup or somebody that, works full time in Bitcoin and they need to liquidate, like that's another good one.
They got to pay their electricity bills. Like,
exactly.
They got to pay. So they're always selling.
Yeah.
It's such a good way in. And then it's like, we try and encourage people to actually mine at home. But equally, if you're in Europe, fucking don't even bother, mate.
Yeah.
There's no point. You just buy your sats from another miner who's in America or elsewhere who has sub 10 cent. I mean, I'm paying I haven't even looked at my recent bill. Something like 45p, so like 60 cents a kilowatt hour.
Holy crap.
Oh yeah, I had in December I had a £900, so like $1,300 bill, and I live in a 2.5 bed terraced house that's about the size of a postage stamp.
That's literally insane.
It's fucking mental. You know, people are like, oh yeah, I live in Europe, I want to get mining. And I'm like, it's cool that you want to mine. It's really cool. And I love that you're excited about this. But honestly, if you live in Europe, unless you're actually using an electric space heater anyway to heat your garage, or you're doing something like that, if you're not using gas, if you're using an electric space heater, then okay, get yourself a cheap something like an S9 or something. And, you know, it's going to use the same power and you're going to get a few sats, not many, but something. That's cool, but don't be trying to start some sort of operation here, because whatever you come up with, you're never going to beat the fact that you're paying 60 cents a kilowatt hour. It's fucking mental.
Yeah. I mean, there's the argument for mining, like home mining, is its own thing, and that's at reasonable prices. I mean, I obviously, like, I would articulate why, but like, I can see why someone would be like, I that's not like cost advantageous for me or whatever, which we know the counter, right? But at 60 cents or 60p, I was like, yeah, like that's like, it's almost better to either have a miner that in the States or somewhere that has cheap, or, you know, like either buy it from them, buy their Bitcoin, or buy a miner from them, or buy a, you know, whatever. You can work out like some sort of like costing if you trust them, right? Like, or just buy the Bitcoin. It depends on how you want to do it. But, you know, sometimes you do have to be like realistic about like, is this going to work or not? So, you know, it's interesting, and it's been exciting to kind of see everyone, see the space like evolve, especially home mining stuff. Like, I swear it felt like it died for a long time. And between like, I mean, leading up to yours, right? We had like Diverter doing a ton for that push. You had Econo Alchemist do a ton for that push, and seeing it kind of evolve. Like, I don't know if there was other things outside of that. Maybe I just like lived in a bubble, but I saw that start. And then like, it just kind of caught fire of just like, everyone's like, wait, we can do this? Oh my God. And then like, oh, this makes so much more sense. And then next thing you know, it was like, now it's like, it's not even weird to talk about it as if like home mining is a bad thing or like it's like stupid. It's like, no, like that makes total sense for the right people, especially.
Genuinely, without Diverter and Econo Alchemist, I wouldn't have been bothered, because they're two people that I really respected. And I was like, oh, okay, these guys are talking about it, I respect them. I looked into it, and then John was trying to put this conference together, and it was just fiat bullshit. Typical fiat bullshit. I'm running a Bitcoin conference, blah, blah, blah. We don't actually care about Bitcoin. We're absolute cunts. And John was like, nah, I've put all this effort and all this time in, I'm just going to pull the plug, they're just cunts. And I was like, mate, you put so much effort, and his wife had put so much effort, and it was like so much amazing content. I was like, fuck it, just use my pod, let's go, let's do this is really cool. And so that's how it started. And then there was like those guys, Econo and Diverter and Tech Engineer got involved, and then suddenly we had like, I don't know, like 100 or 200 people joined the group, and then we were like, fuck it, let's just do a monthly show. And the monthly show went mental. The numbers I get on that show, especially with like people sending in sats and doing messages and stuff, is like 5x what I get on a normal show. Damn. Because people are like, yeah, like genuine. Like people are like, this is fucking cool. Like they want to mine, they want to do things properly. And so that's kind of like, I just see there's this synergy between the two groups. You know, you've got your privacy group and you've got your mining group, and the rest is just like, just fuck off. So I'm just spending more and more time with that.
I think you should, dude. Because I can say easily that it's not unrealistic for people to burn out or to like lose faith. Like if I wasn't in the group of people that I was, you know, it's easy to be like, man, why am I like, especially like working more than one job, and you know, and I'm put myself back in school. I don't know why. Well, I know why, but I'm just a glutton for punishment, I guess. And yeah, getting a computer science degree this time, I guess. But you know, it's like it's easy to get burnt out and then like looking at some of the stuff on Twitter and you're like, oh my God, dude, like, what are we doing? But at the same time, I meet some people or someone reaches out, like, like that person that I met at Prague that emailed me. It was like, I was already starting to like get to that point of just being burnt out, like needing to back up, like just take a breather. And then I was like, fuck no, like this is it. I got it. That's just the juice that I needed. And that's really what it comes down for me is I'm like, man, I need to see more people, and I love going out and meeting people and like seeing the reality of the space, which is not Twitter, which is not Nostr, which is not the everyday conference, these like big gigantic conferences that cost more than people make in a month, to go to. Like I want to go make counter arguments at those, I want to red pill people, but like I have way more fun at conferences like the smaller ones, like the Guns and Bitcoin. I know I really enjoy the Black Boom, but Guns and Bitcoin's always fucking awesome. Yeah, we would love to have you out there, man. I know a bunch of us are going to be out there this year, so super excited. And yeah, I just, if you need to take a break, man, you should take a break because, again, your podcast is one of the few that I like really like hanging out and just chatting. Because, I mean, I think, of course, like we see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, but it's nice to like actually know that not everyone is like a follower. Not everyone is or trying to be this next level thought leader and whatever, trying to educate people in the right way. It's like why a lot of podcasters start. And then next thing you know, they're like trying to be this thing that moves markets and moves projects and accepting money for stuff. And I'm like, I could care less.
It's sad.
Yeah. Like I met Peter McCormick for the first time at Prague because he like introduced me before I went out, which I was not ready for this thing, just for the record. Like I like they told me I was going to be on main stage and I didn't really know what that meant. It was a big main stage, which was cool. I'm glad I kind of got one under my belt, but it was a lot. And it was funny because like I remember not knowing that he was going to be the guy who introduced me. And I like talked to him. He's like, hey, what's up, mate? Like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all I remember about, I mean, like, I've never listened to his podcast. I've never followed his stuff on Twitter. The only thing I've ever remembered about him is he tried to join one of our groups on Telegram, and he said something, just immediately got dunked on. And, like,
of course he did.
One after another, like, just everybody shit on him. And then it was like, I remember him just saying, like, fuck off, this is nerd shit anyways. And then he left. And I just remember that, like, when he introduced me, and, like, I'm pretty sure I was in that, like, dunking group. He was like, oh, like, so what do you do? Whatever. I'm like, bitch, if you, like, why are you trying to introduce me if you don't even know what I do or what's going on? I'm like, you're such a fucking whatever. I'm like, it's cool. I was like, you clearly don't know anything and you just kind of, like, do whatever you're paid to do. It was very apparent to me at that point, and I don't care about talking shit on him.
He's so transparent that it doesn't even annoy me.
Yeah.
He's so transparent that it's like, yeah, whatever. Like, you're here for the money, you're here for the fiat. That's okay. It's fine.
At least you're honest, like
he's like semi-honest. There's like, oh, I didn't realize that every single one of my sponsors is going to fucking steal from all of my listeners. There's that like reverse Kramer where it's like whatever he puts out, like you can bet against it.
Yep.
You can reverse Kramer with McCormack. You can be like, who's his new sponsor? Oh, okay, right, they're going to fuck all of his listeners. Guaranteed. Within 3 to 4 months, they're going to fuck all of his listeners. So that, like, annoys me a bit. But then if you listen to any amount of his shows, you can go, yeah, he's here for fiat. And so if you're going to carry on listening, you're going to get dunked on. Like, you're going to have your sat stolen from you, and that's fine. And he makes a fucking fortune doing it. What annoys me more is when you have like someone who pretends to really care and then like push against the mainstream narrative and like try and create like an edgy feel, and then actually what they will do is they will just do the same shit. That's what really annoys me. Like the bullshit, like the in-between bullshit really annoys me. Whereas McCormack, I'm like, yeah, whatever. You can do what you're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think the space, hopefully, I mean, I don't think we'll see those type of people ever like disappear, but I do think that people are are more wise to it. I think the more that, and that's with anything, right? Like more time that goes, the more experience people get, the more their eyes open. People who were their heroes turn into the enemy quicker than they think. And so, just like with anything, like most people join for the number to go up, and then they go through a bear market and they're like, holy fuck, what happened? And then once you go through one or two, you're like, oh, whatever. I'll wait.
Yeah.
I'll wait till I have more buying power, right? Like we'll just and it comes with experience. My first bear, I was terrified. But but it didn't help. My wife was like, "Just sell it all. It's gonna go to zero." And I was like, "Shut up." But it's. I think the space is gonna round out. I really do. And the only reason I think that is honestly stuff like the plebe mining stuff that you're talking about with these groups, like just like that random group that I joined. That was like a couple days ago. Seeing people doing that and seeing just how many people are coming to all the talks and like. I don't know if it has anything to do with like just a privacy claim and people want to see more privacy stuff, but like me getting continuously get bigger stages to talk on, which is awesome just because I get to reach a larger group.
Do you ever get nervous going on the stage?
Yeah. I for sure. It was funny because like if it's like a regular size like thing, like if I'm doing like a workshop or something and there's like 100 people or 50 people or whatever, I get a little butterflies and then I start and it's all good. And like this last one was definitely the most nervous because I had to like walk all the way, this giant hall, all the way to get to the backstage. And I was like, holy shit, this is a lot bigger than I thought it was. A lot more people. Okay. And then right after me was Michael Saylor, who, our God and Savior.
I've been trying to get him on the show, but I just got you.
Oh yeah, I know.
Bit of a disappointment.
I'm always, if anything is what it's like, is it's normally right after my talk is that he comes on, so it's a good sign.
You're the warm up.
Yeah, I was like, that's what my wife was saying. She was like, you should go tell him like, hey, I warmed him up for you or whatever. I don't really care. He can do what he wants. He's gonna say, and people are gonna want to listen because that's what people do. But. I was like, wow, I was definitely nervous. Like the whole time leading up to it, I was like, I really don't want to do this. It's too late. I would say no. But once I got up there and now that I've done it, I feel a lot better doing the future, and public speaking in general doesn't make me nervous.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it's just the fact that like I've never been on a stage that big, and I don't normally do TED Talk style things. I like conversations. I like interacting with the crowd, which I did do. It was just awkward because it wasn't meant for that. But yeah, it was fun. And so I think I'll always get a little nervous, but I've done a lot of public speaking in the past and teaching and stuff like that. So I try not to get too nervous.
I would be fucking shaking in my boots, mate. I've been asked to do nothing like that, nothing like big stages, but I've been asked to do a couple of bits, and I'm like, not a fucking chance, mate.
You should.
No. I've got nothing to offer. Like, I can sit and have a conversation with people who are building shit and doing stuff, and like, can have a laugh with them, and I enjoy that. But it's like, what do I get up there and just be like, yeah, well, I don't really know what I'm saying here, and also like, I get fucking massive panic attacks.
Yeah.
Like on the floor, fucking convulsing panic attacks. So it's just not for me. Like I'm not, and also it's not enjoyable. I really enjoy my conversations when I have people that I want on, and that's all I have is people that I want on. So it's like I enjoy that. Like, why do I need to be doing a talk? If I did a talk, I'd go, right, guys, you want to speak to Zelko for your node. If you have any problems, you want to speak to Brother Rabbit and Bitcoin Q&A, you want to download Samourai wallet, you want to download Sparrow wallet, and we're done. Speak to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, that would be my...
No, I definitely, I can understand why people wouldn't want to go up and necessarily always talk or even be the host. It's a lot. Like it's I think it is a lot on anybody. I do think that you underplay yourself. I think this is one of the things that I've always valued. I mean, especially with you, but like other people, because I relate a lot as a person that didn't know anything about computers and all that. But like that like relationship that you have with your, whether it's your listeners or just regular people, is more valuable than having some devs on. Like it is infinite. And not to say there's anything wrong with having devs on, like they have their own place to do that, but there is a different connection and a different level of trust that happens with a person who can stand there and say, hey, I spent 4 days trying to get graphene done 2 years ago. That's something that people can relate to, It's like, oh, this guy is also, he's not up here just telling me that he's a tech guy. He's someone that like I get, like he's a normal person.
He's a genuine retard. Like
I mean, you could call it that, I guess, but yeah, it's because it's so intimidating. Like you got to think like these people, and like there are plenty of like podcasters or people who are highly knowledgeable in the area, or at least they know the buzzwords, and it sounds like they know what they're talking about. And then they bring on other people who really know the space, and then one thing leads to another. But like the regular person, they're like, they'll listen and they'll try to understand it, but like having a regular person on who can talk like a regular, like in a language that everyone understands, because they also don't speak high level autism, high functioning autism. It's, like it's invaluable. So don't think that, don't think that because like you're a voice that people don't want to hear. I think that really undersells your overall value. I think that, and that's why like, I could have reached out to a bunch of different podcasts, and I reached out to you because one, I enjoy talking to you, but two, I find your stuff far more valuable to the regular people. And that's who I care about, the people that need this stuff. And you're the voice. You're the one that understands it and gets it like they do, in a way that they get it. So don't understand yourself.
I appreciate that, mate. I'm going to go cry now.
Not that.
No, I appreciate it, mate. I'm not going to quit. It's just, I just think I'm going to rejig things a little bit and just focus on the things that I care about and accept. Like, I've just accepted that this is a third job, You're not going to be a fucking Joe Rogan. You're going to just talk to people you want to talk to and build some cool shit, and maybe Bitcoin helps some few people have some freedom. And if that happens, then cool. And like on your deathbed, you can go, well, I did something that was worthwhile. That's cool. Like, I'm happy with that.
Exactly.
It's just a case of like dialing it back. I think I just spent too much time and obsessed too much. And like I said to you before, I was like, it's really simple to do things right in Bitcoin. And I think I just got so excited about a million different projects and I need to know everything. And I started trying to code and I started trying to do all these million things while having a family and having 2 jobs and fucking sleeping 4 hours a night and burning myself out. And now I've just got to the point where I'm like, just tell people there's 4 or 5 good projects that you need to care about. Unless you're like a really nerdy cunt, there's 4 or 5 things that you need to do. And you do that. And that's it. And don't worry about everything else. And then join these cool little communities and you can trade and you can buy your eggs or you can do whatever and sell your Bitcoin and whatever. That's it. And I think that's just what I'm going to focus on and not worry about the 10 millionth wallet that's come on the scene or the new article from someone who's writing some philosophy about why Bitcoin is similar to sawdust. And, it's just like, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot that goes on in the space. And it's just, there's very little that matters. Luckily enough, there's, like Seed Sign is a really cool community. So I've had a few with them. And obviously, Craig's been on a few times. We talk about his wallet and, the Samourai guys. And luckily there's enough of you guys at RoninDojo and, whatever. And I do my monthlies with Q&A and Antimus and stuff. But outside of that, I don't really see too much. And then the other thing I see is like people like Brother Rabbit. Why is he not on more podcasts? Because he's the most fucking helpful bastard in the world. But honestly, Brother Rabbit is the most helpful person in the entire world, and nothing's ever too much for him. Like, there's so many times that I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stuck and there's this problem. Blah. And then Brother Rabbit's there and he's like, okay, mate, we'll just work through this. What you want to do is go over to and he's like, the best person in the entire world, and I never hear him on a podcast.
So it's funny that you say that, because I feel the exact same way with like his insight and everything is amazing. I always tell him, I was like, because he used to bring these ideas to the table and he'd be like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if we could have this and then do that? And I was like, yeah, man, we'll get to that eventually. Like he kind of got used to me, like kind of shutting him down, but like, and now I'm at a point where I'm like, no, I want to hear your stuff. I want to hear what you're saying. And cause we've like been able to kind of like, stabilize everything. And I'm like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, what do you think about that? And like, honestly, he's so, I try to tell him all the time, like, dude, I like cannot state how much I appreciate just having him around. And he's just an asset to, not just to RoninDojo or, the Samourai community or anything like that. Like he's an asset to Bitcoin. I do agree. He should probably go on some podcasts, but he would probably argue something like, he doesn't have the voice for radio or something. I don't know. He's a humble guy. He probably would be like you and probably think that no one would actually. He's like, well, he probably would say he's not building anything, so why does it matter?
Yeah, that's exactly what he'd
I
say.
don't think he understands, just like I don't think you do. But he's an outstanding person. I'm glad that I've met him a couple times now, and I'm glad that I can definitely call him one of my close friends. And if he ever left me, I'd be very sad, for sure.
We're like both professing our love for him. We're going to have to fight over him now.
Yeah, deathmatch.
Or we could share him. Maybe we could share him.
That's tough. Under correct terms and agreement.
Instead, if I ever make it out to America, I will go to Guns and Bitcoin and I'll bring Rabbit with me and we will all go and have a beer. Or if you ever find your way to the UK for some fucking weird reason, then again, we'll all go and have a beer and we'll just, we won't fight over him.
1,000%. You got me sold. I want to get you out to Guns and Bitcoin, like 100%. So, but yeah, no, let's definitely do that. Let's meet up, have a beer. I definitely owe London a round for sure. Q&A owes me as well. So yeah, let's do that, man.
All right, mate. Well, look, I've taken enough of your time. I know you're building, so we'll do this again soon. And it's always a pleasure speaking to you. We've slagged most people off. We've been cunts, but it's been nice.
Hey, it's always fun to finally like be able to speak, to talk reality, kind of get out of the space. So I appreciate it, man. I'm excited. Hopefully you guys everyone's going to love what we got putting out. So
I'm sure we will.
We'll work something out for sure. And yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man. I really do.
Anytime.
Glad I can catch up with you.
All right, mate. Take care. We'll speak again soon.
All right. Sounds good, brother.
Thanks again to Zelko and the whole RoninDojo team. They are one of the few projects that really give me hope in this space. And if you haven't checked them out already, I hope this has given you a push to do it. Go to RoninDojo.io. And if you have any questions, non-technical questions, you can reach out to me and I'll walk you through it. I have a huge amount of respect for these guys and I hope you enjoy using their products.